Hi everyone, this is On coming to you with this month's video, and we're going to talk a bit this month about how to manage transitions because that is one of the big energies that we have coming up during the month of August in our code. So that's going to be kind of exciting. For those who don't know me, I am the author of this book, The Code Journey, and I'm just getting ready to get out the 2026 edition. So watch for that. It should be coming out in about a month from now, late August or just past the mid part of August in there. So very exciting. It's a great daily guidebook to have, and it has all kinds of reflections throughout the year and the months and the days and the angel influences and lunar influences and all kinds of great stuff in there. But let's get on to this month's video and talk a little bit about transitions because this is something that can be really hard for people. It can be really, a lot of people get challenged. And I think part of what happens for them in transitions is that they get a little bit lost, maybe. They feel they feel a lot of uncertainties that come up with it. And that can be a little bit scary for people, especially if those uncertainties that are coming up are because of financial things or health things or different components like that that just it's like, what can I do? What can I not do? What direction should I take? It can definitely be a challenge. So when we look at the code energy patterns for transition or transitions plural, now when we look at that, we see just the transition if it's an individual thing that's going on. So maybe we just have something in our personal life, or maybe there's just one thing happening in the world, but we know that's not true, right? Because there's a lot of transitions that are happening in our world right now. But if it's a singular thing that's happening, then what we're really seeing is it's about learning. It's about experiences that we need to process. It's about experiences that we're going through. It's about learning from those, what we're doing from the experiences so that we can generate the successes. And during that learning period of a transition, it's going to test us a little bit. It's going to push us to our limits and it's going to um, get us to grow is really what it is. Because if we stay in this really comfortable box, or if we just stay in the knowledge of something and we don't really expand it out into action and being in our life, then it's going to be something that just stays as knowledge. It's never going to manifest into a success. So this is that great opportunity to kind of process and bring things together and learn things. Now, when we have multiple transitions going on, like we do in the world now, uh, we see that happening all the time. So all kinds of things are transitioning in whether, policies or anything else. It doesn't really matter. But, and even in our life, sometimes we can have multiple transitions, right? Because people make a move and they change jobs and they do all kinds of things all at one time. So when we're dealing with these multiple transitions, what this is really about is stepping into our abundance. So we're stepping out of kind of these material aspects, the materialism side of things, and we are stepping into true abundance where we can feel the flow. We feel like we have enough. But again, that transition, because we're so programmed and we're so reliant on uh, we're so reliant on the material things to give us comfort that we don't always step into the abundance. And when we step into that abundance, we have that joy, we have that flow that's coming through, which is wonderful and it's great and it's beautiful. And we feel a security that we actually don't feel when we're relying on material things or material resources. I mean, certainly those always give us a comfort zone, right? If we have a stable job or something like that, there's a certain amount of comfort in that, right? If we have a home that's bought and paid for or a car that's bought and paid for, there's a certain comfort in that because you're not worrying about monthly payments that you have to come up with. But there's not the same kind of comfort as there is when you know you're going to be okay no matter what. And that's the abundance piece that we want to embrace with transitions. It's a beautiful piece. And this is part of what transitions are all about is embracing true abundance, knowing that everything that's going to manifest is going to come from within you. And you have that ability to do that. So it's a very powerful piece. Now, there are some components here. And when we are going through this transition period, and some of the things we'll particularly will be seeing coming up here in August 2025, is that these periods of transition are a great time for reflection. They're a great time to go within ourselves, to just take a little downtime, to just realize, okay, where have we been? What are we coming out of? Where are we headed towards? And part of this reflection, as we start to do it, what we can come to realize is that we are shifting again onto the spiritual path. We are shifting onto the soul's path. We are moving into something that brings us greater into the stronger divine alignment. And that's always a beautiful thing if we're embracing it. And we're conscious in the process. That's a great thing. So this reflection piece becomes very important. I mentioned we need to embrace the transition. A lot of people, when they get into the uncertainties and they start getting scared into transition, or they go into the fear or the stress or the anxiety of things, they're not allowing themselves to actually embrace it. And when we embrace it, what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves to become a co-creator in the process. So when I look at this energy of embracing, it is really about looking at the divine processes. It's more of an intuitive thing. And I think that's part of the embracing process is to get in touch. What does our gut say? What does our heart say? And things, what are we feeling? And it can be confusing sometimes because sometimes what opens our heart up isn't necessarily going to serve our human existence very well. And that's a strange thing to say in some ways, but our heart naturally, our soul self naturally, a lot of times isn't absorbed by all this money. So sometimes it forgets that we need a little bit of resources to work with to take care of our basic human needs in there. But more so, it's really about embracing spiritual qualities. It's about embracing, honoring those pieces, but it's also about listening to our intuition while we're going through these transition periods. Because a lot of times our mind can get confused in that. A lot of times our mind is feeling disoriented. Our thoughts are feeling unclear, like, I thought I had this figured out. Now what's happening? Now I'm thrust into this change, and I don't know about this. And if we get really deep, we will know whether there's a peace or not. Is that unsettled feeling that we're feeling, is there really a danger to be concerned about? Or is it just an unknown factor? And underneath that unknown piece, there's comfort and there's peace in there. And those are some of the things I tune into when I'm going through transitions like, okay, yeah, there's this uncertainty. Yes, there is this component that I don't know what's going to happen. There's a component that says, who knows? Who knows exactly? Um, I don't know how a situation is going to work out. But when I tune into it, it's like, but I don't have any necessarily like bad feelings or anything I can't handle, or within it, I do sense some sort of peace in there. So listening to that, and that's going to help a lot in transitions. Another thing about transitions is a lot of times these are points in our life that we kind of have to walk alone. Now, on one hand, of course, those people who love and support us, they're always going to be there for us to draw on. They are going to be the mentors, the resources. Those people will be available for us. But a lot of times in this transition, we're moving away from peer or group thought to embracing the strength in what is best for us, embracing the strength of what we need, what our human self needs, what our body needs, basic self-care components, our emotions, our, thoughts, all of these things. And so it's not necessarily something that can be shown or shared in this process. So this alone process again, it's not that we're really alone. It's just that sometimes we need time alone. I mean, ask any married couple this, ask, people in relationships, ask people who are in service industries, or even, a lot of the spiritual people. It's like, yeah, I need my time alone. I love my husband. I love my spouse. I love my job or I love my work, but I still need me time. And so when we honor this alone time, we really have a great opportunity to get rid of the distractions that are giving us all kinds of, input everywhere and wondering what's happening and, filling our head up with all kinds of things that just confuses and muddles it more. And a lot of times, like I'll go walk in the forest, in between sections of different work, later in the day or something. I'll just go walk in the forest because it totally clears my head. It gives me some alone time. I leave my phone in the car so I don't look at any messages. I'm not even tempted to do that. And when, when we do that, that's where we start to get clarity. That's where we can start to bring some ease and some peace is in that alone time because we are not being interfered with from outside distractions or pieces or input or things like that. So embrace that alone time because that is where the clarity is. And I think that that's really great and important. Stepping away from what is detrimental. This is huge when we're in transitions. People wonder, they get so stressed, and a big part of the stress and the anxiety that people have come in is because they are so distracted by things. Like they're so distracted about what's happening in the world, maybe, or what's happening with somebody else's life, or what's happening at their job, or this or that, that they have no ability to really connect with themselves with all those distractions. So again, that's part of why I go walk in the woods for, a little bit every day. If I can do it every day, I will. I have a day or two that I miss, but uh, going and doing that, what I'm doing is again, removing the distractions, setting my cell phone down, to take that time to meditate, but leave your cell phone in another room, find those different ways to remove the distractions. And when people get in these spaces, they really can't deal very well with all of that external input. It just will set off all kinds of triggers. So like people with trauma, they'll get more triggered if they're allowing themselves to engage in the distractions. So sometimes what we have to do is really just kind of shut everybody out in a way. And it's not a mean thing. It's not a, hey, I hate you. I don't ever want to talk to you type of thing. It's like, I just need to be alone with me. I just need my own thoughts for a little bit. I just need to be able to focus. And that's really what it's about. It's about focusing, right? It's much easier to go walk into a conference room like I'm in today and to be able to focus and do what I need to do than if I'm sitting at the mini mart where there's people coming and going and all of this noise, and it's very hard to focus on the video if I do that, right? Or even, part of being here today, doing it in this setting for me was because I know that some of my other nature settings, it's a Saturday, it's going to be busy out there. It's a beautiful day outside, and, there's going to be all kinds of distractions going on. So, removing that distractions allows us to become fully present and fully in the moment and really just sit with things. And again, this helps us to focus. It helps us to get clarity. It helps us to find peace. So big components here. Realizing that everything, let me come back to that one. Regrouping. These periods of transitions are a great opportunity to regroup. Again, it's when we do that reflection, we're really taking the time to regroup ourselves and to say, okay, here's where we've been, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. Where am I at? What am I feeling? What are my needs? What's important to me? What are my priorities? And then taking a look and getting back and going, okay, and here's where I want to go. Here's the direction I want to move in. Here's what's going to align me with my soul. Here's what is shifting right now, and here's what I'm going to need for that. So it is like this regrouping. component that goes on in transitions, right? It's kind of like when you move. You have all the chaos of everything being in boxes, and you get to the new place, and it's kind of like, wow, this is all the stuff I've had. This is all the stuff I've been carrying around. Is there anything I want to get rid of that I didn't get rid of when I packed? Those sorts of things. And then regrouping and saying, okay, I'm in a new space now. I'm going to be in this new home. And how do I want to set things up here versus how I had them set up in the old place? So that regrouping also helps to stabilize us. It helps to settle down some of the trauma. It helps us to kind of regain command over some things that are happening. And that's all going to feel really good because that's going to help us with the forward momentum that we're working on. And then what happens in this that I think is one of the scariest pieces of transition for people, and some of the things that are coming up in August, is they don't have a lot of physical energy when they're going through these periods. It can be very draining physically, even if they're excited about something and the transitions are positive, it can still be very physically draining on the body. And then material aspects. There's usually either a loss of resources in these transitions, there's a reduction of resources in these transitions, or a lot of expense output going on in these transitions. And that can all be very settling for people because, again, a lot of people put their strength, their foundation, their security in material assets. And that's not where our strength and security is. It's internally within God, divine source, it's with the soul self. That's the only thing that really gets us through because, really, let's say, it wouldn't matter what currency the world worked under. Um, the security is never there. It can always be taken to a certain extent. So the only real security we have is inside of us. And the good side is that when we go through these material misfortune, sometimes they're misfortune pieces. Sometimes, again, they're attached to good things. It's just a high expense output. It brings us back into connecting with that base of where our real security is, which is, again, this internal spiritual connection that is going on. So, this is powerful. And when we're in transitions, we really want to embrace processing. Process. It's so important. This is like clearing the house out when you are moving before you pack stuff, saying, look, I don't need all of this stuff anymore. Why am I carrying this around? Why am I holding all this excess baggage? Let's get rid of some of it. And the way we get rid of a lot of baggage is to process things. So that can be emotional baggage, mental baggage, all kinds of things. And too often people get wrapped up in the change, the shift, the transition that they don't process. So now they're carrying, it's like carrying dirt into the new clean place, and you don't want to do that. So the more you can process, and that's, again, this downtime is for that. Do the processing, clear it out so you bring yourself into that clear space so you're really ready to embrace that forward momentum when the transition completes in there. And then our final piece on this is realizing, and this is a big one, realizing that no matter how chaotic everything looks, how messed up everything looks, it's all in divine order. And this is especially true where, for example, maybe we've been in a situation, we're doing our personal growth, we might be developing ourselves in some way, and we pretty much get pushed out, rejected, fired, let go of whatever from a job, and we're outcast. Maybe we're outcast from a group of friends. And again, this can be a very disorienting thing. But a lot of times, especially when it's not particularly a choice that we have made, we have divine order that's stepping in. And sometimes to get us into a more favorable space, there has to be a lot of chaos and disruption and shaking up of things for that to happen. So I think, especially with the processes that we're not choosing, the transitions that we're not choosing in things, is about reestablishing divine order. It's a sort of recalibration that's going on to say, okay, let's get you disconnected from this so that you can get connected to that. It's kind of like saying, let's get you off the junk food so that we can put you into a healthy, get your body healthy. So this rest, this restoration that's going on. And a lot of people try to fight that again because they're in the anxiety and they're not stopping to say, okay, look, I really don't need to stress over it because God's got this. It's all in divine order. And there's a reason behind what's happening, and what I need to do is to honor my pieces, do that processing, do the rest, take care of myself, honor my health, do what I need to do. If I need to say no to people, say no to people, and then just realize it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And this temporary discomfort is not going to last forever. It is just temporary. And it's just to help us get this transition and this shift to happen. And again, this is kind of like regrouping, right? There's this recalibration that is happening. And it's just like we got to rest at night. We got to go to sleep and rest at night so that our bodies can restore, so they can recalibrate, so that everything can kind of get regrouped and give us a fresh start. So, I mean, in some days we can say, sleeping is a transition that we go through every single day. And when we stop and make that realization, it's like, wow, why do I resist the transitions? I shouldn't, because sleeping, I'm doing them every single day, basically, when we look at it. So, hey, I hope this helps you out. Oh boy, getting those words out. And I just want to mention really quickly, I have been working on rebuilding a new website. So probably by the time I cut next month's video, that new website will be up and running. But the web address is going to stay the same. So if you want to check out my work, you can do so. The website is compassioncodes.com. Again, the book that I draw on for different things is this book right here, The Code Journey. And by the way, the ebook is discounted right now. There are links on the website to get you directly into purchase pages or download pages that can help you out with things. And it's just about a month away, month away today, August 19th. I'm planning the release for the 2026 edition. So a lot going on my plate right now. I'm headed out to Vermont in another week. So if anybody wants to join me out there in Rutland, Vermont, again, you can check out the details for live personal work sessions or the workshop I have going on, which has to do with manifestation, magnetic manifestation. So it's a little bit different, and dealing with our illusions and manipulations and stuff around manifestation that block our manifestation. And then I'll have two more trips coming up in September, mid-September, and late October back to Rutland, Vermont, with workshops and personal session work going on there. So definitely check things out. And like I said, there will be a new website coming up probably by the time I cut the next video. And be all ready to go. And I think you're going to be as excited about it as I am in there. Take care, everybody, and I will see you next month.